Hello, this is Mickey. Go ahead and do another video real quick. Hopefully get a few of them uploaded tonight or tomorrow, sometime this weekend. So, this matchup, I keep it because of the duress, both of which I can play, and the bridge. So those help me make sure that I can land a bridge. Please excuse me, by the way, I'm eating cookies, so... So right here, the reason why I pop off that surgical extraction is my opponent just played those two serum visions and had a third in hand, visions, and I know that my opponent wanted to draw whatever he had just scryed. So this lets me set up to exile the visions, plus one in his hand, plus get rid of his graveyard, so because he's got a Tassiger in hand, so that he wouldn't be able to delve a Tassiger into play really, really quick. And it shuffles the library, so whatever card they tried to scry on top and then draw with Contaction Probe is now shuffled away. Now I did also notice that my opponent had two Polluted Deltas in hand. So this turn, yeah, I mess up there and played the rest. And when I played it, I was like, why did I even do that? But, because I knew my opponent drew the Young Pyromancer. But I land the needle on Polluted Delta to slow down my opponent, otherwise my opponent would be able to pop both and they get a Tassiger written pretty quick, which I did not want. Yeah, I forget to block there too, which is silly. But so at this point I know it's safe to do a bridge. I know my opponent has two Culligan's commands because I saw them when I did the surgical. So now I know I can go ahead and start doing crazy self-mill because I'll be able to get the whatever I mill back on top with the ruins. Yeah, that's pretty much game. The droplets help keep me out of burn range here. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I did forget to put a Spellskite back on top a turn or two ago. But that's okay, I ended up getting a second bridge. So at this point, the game is pretty much over. But my opponent refuses to give up. Which is fine, it's their prerogative. And if I remember correctly, it does take me a little while to win here. So I know my opponent has a Snapcaster on top. I'm out of mill. That's why I locked my opponent out of red mana.
Is this tokens?
My opponent is playing Grixis Stover.
Because that's a lot of elemental tokens.
And I'm not too worried about the Tassiger, which is why I didn't grab the needle. Because I can just give my opponent back like a good Taxon Probe or a Spell Snare or something. And my opponent would be self-milling, so Now here, my opponent should have played Delve to do Murderous Cut to reduce the number of cards that I can give him back with Tasigur. Although honestly, it probably still wouldn't have mattered. Now, at this point in the game, I counted up how long, which way was faster to kill, the Pyrite Spellbomb or the Mill. And initially it was a Pyrite Spellbomb. But then in the next couple of turns, I start drawing cards that make it so that the Mill plan ends up being faster. That ends up being the plan that I go with. Normally it doesn't take me this long to close out a game, but for some reason I was having a little bit extra lag. The reason I milled that lightning bolt, or I milled this lightning bolt, was because I didn't want to burn time. I think my opponent was trying to get me to burn time, and I figured they'll bolt me to put the counters on the sun droplet so that I'd have to do the triggers, which would have cost me time. So I just avoided that altogether. My opponent plays it to the end. So, game 2. These cookies are delicious.
Stop teasing the YouTubers.
So again, I felt pretty confident with this thanks to the Inquisition. I had a way to turn off Tasigur. I had a way to get stuff back, and I had a way to grab Bridge if I needed. So right there, you might have noticed I grabbed Snapcaster instead of Command. Which, I don't know, it may have been a mistake, it may not have been. Because here in a bit, he's going to command me to try to break the prison. And get Snapcaster back, because he figures he's going to snap back Paladin's command. And destroy another thing. Of course, what he doesn't know is that doesn't happen, because I sighted in Grafdigger's Cage, which shut off Snapcaster. So something really interesting here. My opponent has Blood Moon on top. And I realize that if I don't go ahead and do the stirrings now, my opponent can easily lock me off a green mana next turn. So in order to avoid that, I went ahead and played out the stirrings right now. Which is pretty good. You know, I got my bridge. And then, so my opponent at that point has the ability to Snapcaster into Colian. But, and that'll make me discard my Grafdigger's Cage. But that gives me enough time to duress away the Blood Moon. Of course, I redirect that Kolaghan's Command the Spellskite. I lose the Grafdigger's Cage, but I'm going to get it back. Because I have more live cards than my opponent does in this game. So chances are I'm going to draw live while he's, you know, stuck on whatever. Mentally doesn't really do a whole heck of a lot against me. Yeah, he's just trying to burn me out before I land a droplet or something. But I get back my Shredder, and that's pretty much game. Before I land that bridge, I figure I'll go ahead and end the Spellskite if I can. Just in case my opponent is able to try to top deck some random card by popping both of his deltas. This time I did not name deltas with the needle. I named Tassiger real early. So, and he was smart, or my opponent was smart in here, you know, in their exiles to try to, in case, you know, they ever do get a Tassiger off and somehow do destroy the needle. But it doesn't matter. Now this has got to be salty here. Like, my opponent is just about to top deck a Snapcaster, and I go ahead and Stirrings back my cage, and it shuts it off. It's Vandal Blast on top. Not gonna draw it. Yeah, plays it out. Just, you know, why not? You can't actually cast it, but, you know, screw it. It's a critter. I do let my opponent draw the Terminate. It doesn't really matter because I can always get it back. I can get my Spellskite back with Ruins. Now here I do not play Stirrings because I see I have a Shredder on top, and I want to draw that Shredder. And if I save that, my opponent can't attack anyway, so I can just naturally draw the Shredder, play it, and still hold on to Stirrings for next turn. And then the next turn I have another Stirrings on top. So I'd sandbag that too, until drawing a Stirrings is good for me. And that Stirrings into another bill, further solidify the prison. And I do some math here and I realize that the Ether Grid win is faster. So at this point, instead of Stirrings, I sandbag the Stirrings again, so that I draw into the Ether Grid. I'm running low on time, so that knowing which way was faster is really important here. Now in real life, Ether Grid is probably faster. I realized afterwards that it might have been a little bit slower on MTGO just because I have to click so many things to deal a whole, 13 points of damage. But yes, at this point the game is over, and my opponent is just kind of hoping I'll time out, I guess. Yeah, I don't mind the Grixis Delver matchup so bad.
You mind it horribly.
So, and on my upkeep, I go ahead and just burn him out. And that's the Grixis Delver matchup. Another 2-0. Okay, thanks for watching. I'll get another video here in a bit, too.